Commander Zethkar's flagship, the Dominator of Worlds, drifted powerless in space. Its weapon systems had been disabled by precision strikes that had somehow avoided critical life support areas. Around him, the remnants of his once proud fleet faced the same fate. Humanity had demonstrated not just superior firepower, but tactical restraint that spoke to a sophisticated understanding of warfare. "Commander," his communications officer reported with obvious reluctance, "the humans are broadcasting on our emergency frequencies." The voice that emerged from the speakers belonged to General Brooks, speaking in flawless Valdarian standard with an accent that suggested extensive study of their language patterns. "Commander Zethkar, your fleet is disabled, but your crews are alive. That was a deliberate choice on our part. You have 10 minutes to signal your surrender before we demonstrate less restrained capabilities." Zethkar looked around his bridge, at officers who had served with him through dozens of successful campaigns. Their expressions reflected the same disbelief he felt. In less than 2 hours, everything they thought they knew about military superiority had been proven wrong by a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Signal our surrender," he ordered quietly. On Earth, the command center erupted in cheers, that General Brooks quickly silenced. "This is just the beginning," he reminded his staff. "We've won a battle, but now we need to win the peace." Dr. Carter was already analyzing sensor data from the engagement. "General, we've learned more about Galactic Council technology in the past 2 hours than we had in months of studying intercepted communications. Their weapon systems are actually less sophisticated than we expected, but their ships are built for different types of fighting." "What do you mean?" "They're designed for fighting species that use similar technology. They've never encountered adaptive weapon systems like ours, or tactical approaches that combine their own technology with human engineering principles." 3 days later, Commander Zethkar found himself in the unprecedented position of being a prisoner of war on a planet he had expected to conquer effortlessly. The humans had treated his captured crews with a level of courtesy that violated every assumption about primitive species behavior. General Brooks sat across from him in a conference room deep within the Colorado Mountain complex that served as Earth's primary command center. Between them lay documents that represented a complete shift in galactic power dynamics. "Commander, we've had some interesting conversations with your crew members," Brooks began. "It seems the Galactic Council has been operating under some fundamental misconceptions about what makes a species dangerous." Zethkar remained silent, still processing the magnitude of his defeat. "Your technology is impressive," Brooks continued, "but it's designed by species that have forgotten what desperation can accomplish. Humanity spent its entire evolutionary history facing extinction-level challenges. We developed not just intelligence, but the ability to innovate under pressure that your comfortable galactic civilizations have never experienced." Dr. Carter joined the conversation, carrying data tablets that displayed analyses of captured Valdarian technology. "Commander, your weapon systems are more powerful than ours, but they're predictable. They follow established patterns that our computers could model and counter. You never adapted because you never needed to." "What do you want from us?" Zethkar finally asked. General Brooks smiled, but it was not an expression of victory. It was the smile of someone who understood that the real challenge was just beginning. "We want to contact the Galactic Council. It seems there are some things they need to learn about humanity before they make any more assumptions about Earth's capabilities." Captain Steve Martinez, whose disguised mining vessel had played a crucial role in the battle, was now overseeing the integration of captured Valdarian technology with human systems. The process was revealing just how much potential humanity had for rapid technological advancement. "General, the fusion reactor designs we've captured are actually simpler than what we developed," he reported. "Our scientists took their basic principles and improved them through human engineering approaches they never considered." 2 weeks later, the emergency session of the Galactic Council convened to hear a report that none of them could have anticipated. Commander Zethkar, appearing via quantum communication link from Earth, delivered an assessment that shattered every military doctrine the Council had developed over millennia. Honored Council members, humanity represents a paradigm shift in galactic warfare. They possess not just advanced technology, but the cognitive flexibility to weaponize any resource available to them. They combined our own technology with their engineering principles to create weapon systems we had no defense against. Council Speaker Vorthok interrupted. Commander, are you suggesting that a primitive species defeated your fleet through superior technology? No, Honored Speaker. They defeated us through superior adaptation. They learned our capabilities, identified our weaknesses, and developed countermeasures in a time frame we considered impossible. They had prepared for our arrival before we even knew they existed. Admiral Krixtal leaned forward, his expression grave. What is your recommendation regarding Earth? Zethkar paused, choosing his words carefully. Humanity should be offered immediate membership in the Galactic Council. They represent capabilities we need to understand and alliance we cannot afford to oppose. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. A species they had planned to conquer within days had instead demonstrated technologies and tactical abilities that suggested they could pose a threat to any member of the galactic community. On Earth, General Brooks watched the council session through intercepted communications, Dr. Carter standing beside him as they observed the dawn of a new era in human history. Do you think they'll accept our terms? She asked. Brooks smiled as he watched. Alien civilizations grapple with the reality that humanity had joined the galactic community not as subjects, but as equals who had earned their position through strength. Commander Zethkar believed Earth was helpless until we proved him dead wrong. Now the entire galaxy knows that underestimating humanity is the kind of mistake you only make once. The response from the Galactic Council came within hours, a formal invitation for Earth to join as a full member, with immediate recognition of human sovereignty over the solar system. The aliens who had come to conquer had instead become the first ambassadors of a new age of human expansion into the galaxy. Dr. Carter looked at the star charts showing the locations of thousands of alien worlds, each one now aware that humanity existed and was not to be underestimated. What happens now, General? Now we explore, Brooks replied. We learn, we grow, and we make sure that no species ever again makes the mistake of thinking that humanity is helpless. In the months that followed, as humanity took its place among the galactic powers, one lesson echoed through every star system. Never assume a species is helpless simply because they have not yet shown you what they are capable of accomplishing. Human. Ships began appearing at alien worlds, their crews eager to trade, explore, and learn. The species that had once been dismissed as primitive became teachers, showing other civilizations what could be accomplished when innovation met determination. Commander Zethkar, now serving as a military advisor to the human fleet, often reflected on his catastrophic misassessment. He had learned that true strength did not come from superior technology alone, but from the ability to adapt, innovate, and overcome any challenge. The galaxy had a new player, and humanity had announced its arrival in a way that ensured respect, cooperation, and the understanding that Earth's children were now among the stars to stay. The age of human expansion had begun, built on the foundation that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one you dismiss as harmless. Commander Zethkar had exactly 3 seconds to understand the magnitude of his mistake before humanity's response began. The first wave of railgun projectiles crossed the distance between Earth and the Valdarian fleet at speeds that made their own plasma weapons look slow. The kinetic rounds, each one guided by quantum computers capable of calculating trajectory changes in real time, struck the alien vessels before their defensive systems could fully activate. Impossible! Zethkar roared as his flagship shook, under impacts that should have been stopped by their energy shields. How are primitive kinetic weapons getting through our defenses? His tactical officer's voice carried a note of panic. Commander, their projectiles are somehow matching the frequency changes of our shield harmonics. They're adapting faster than our systems can adjust. On Earth, Dr. Carter watched the engagement with scientific fascination. The quantum computers are learning their defensive patterns in real time, she reported to General Brooks. Each shot that connects provides data that makes the next shot more accurate. Second wave, fire, Brooks commanded. This time, the human weapons revealed capabilities that broke every assumption the Valdarians had made about Earth's technological limitations. Orbital platforms that had been dismissed as space junk unleashed. Focused particle beams that cut through alien hull plating like it was made of paper. The beams themselves showed an understanding of exotic matter physics that the Valdarian Empire had taken centuries to develop. Commander Zethkar watched in horror as 12 of his vessels suffered critical damage in the opening minutes of the battle. His crew scrambled to reconfigure their defensive systems, but the human weapons seemed to predict every adjustment they made. Communications, send a retreat signal to all vessels, Zethkar ordered, his pride crumbling as he faced the reality of fighting an enemy that had somehow surpassed his technological advantages. Commander, the humans are jamming our communications, his officer reported. They're using some form of quantum interference that's disrupting our entire network. Colonel Murphy smiled grimly as he watched the alien fleet's attempts to coordinate their retreat. Our quantum entanglement communication systems are creating interference patterns that their technology can't filter out. They're effectively blind and deaf to each other. The third wave of Earth's response demonstrated the most shocking revelation of all. Human vessels, previously dismissed as primitive cargo haulers, suddenly revealed their true nature. What the Valdarians had assumed were simple transport ships, deployed weapon systems that combined human engineering with alien technology principles in ways that should not have been possible. Captain Steve Martinez, commanding the Earth defense vessel Freedom, had spent 3 months training with technology that barely existed when the aliens first approached the solar system. His ship, disguised as a mining vessel, carried fusion. Reactors reverse-engineered from intercepted alien communications and weapon systems that human creativity had adapted beyond their original specifications. All human vessels, implement attack pattern Delta, came General Brooks' order through the quantum communication network. The disguised Earth ships moved with precision that caught the remaining Valdarian vessels completely off guard. Instead of the clumsy formations expected from a primitive species, humanity demonstrated tactical coordination that suggested military planning capabilities far beyond what their initial assessment had indicated. Commander Zethkar realized that every assumption his intelligence reports had made was not just wrong, but catastrophically wrong. The humans had not been divided and helpless. They had been preparing, learning, and adapting with a speed that defied every model of technological development the Galactic Council used. How long did they have to prepare for this? He asked his surviving staff. Based on their technological integration, at least several of their years, his science officer replied. But Commander, that's impossible. Our first scout probe only detected their world 8 months ago. The terrible truth dawned on Zethkar as his fleet continued to suffer losses against weapons that combined human ingenuity with stolen alien technology. They've been watching us. Somehow they intercepted our communications from the very beginning. On Earth, Dr. Carter confirmed what the alien commander had finally realized. General, our deep space monitoring stations have been tracking Galactic Council communications for over 2 years. We've had time to prepare for this exact scenario. The battle continued with methodical precision. Human weapon systems demonstrated not just superior firepower, but tactical restraint that spoke to a sophisticated understanding of warfare. Instead of destroying the alien vessels outright, the humans targeted specific systems. Weapons were disabled first, then engines, then communication arrays. It was clear they wanted to capture, not annihilate. Commander, his engineering officer reported, they're targeting our systems in a specific sequence. They want to disable us, not destroy us. Zethkar found this almost more disturbing than outright destruction would have been. Primitive species were supposed to fight with desperate fury, not calculated precision. Why would they want to capture our vessels? The answer came in the form of another transmission from General Brooks. Commander Zethkar, you are witnessing what happens when a species that has spent its entire evolutionary history facing extinction learns advanced technology. We don't just adapt to threats, we study them, understand them, and turn them into advantages. Captain Martinez, commanding one of the disguised human vessels, watched as his targeting computer identified weak points in Valdarian ship designs that the aliens themselves probably didn't know existed. Control. This is freedom. Their hull plating has stress concentration points at the junction seams. Our computers have mapped every structural weakness in their fleet. Roger, Freedom. Share targeting data with all units. Let's show them what human engineering analysis can accomplish. Within minutes, the remaining Valdarian vessels found themselves under precisely targeted fire that exploited design flaws they had never known they possessed. Human weapons struck at joints, seams, and connection points with surgical accuracy that left the alien crews shaken and demoralized. Commander Zethkar's flagship, the Dominator of Worlds, shuddered as its weapon systems were methodically disabled by strikes that somehow found every vulnerable point in its design. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to maintain basic systems as the humans demonstrated a level of technical analysis that surpassed anything in his experience. "Sir," his tactical officer reported quietly, "we've lost weapon systems, navigation, and long-range communications. They've effectively neutralized our combat capability while leaving life support intact." The engagement was entering its final phase, and Commander Zethkar faced a choice no Valdarian military officer had ever been forced to make. Unconditional surrender to a species he had dismissed as primitive just hours earlier. General Brooks's voice came over the emergency frequencies one final time. "Commander Zethkar, your fleet is disabled, but your crews are alive. That was a deliberate choice on our part. You have 10 minutes to signal your surrender before we demonstrate less restrained capabilities." Looking around his bridge at officers who had served with him through dozens of successful campaigns, Zethkar saw the same realization in their eyes that he felt. Everything they thought they knew about primitive species, about technological development, and about military superiority had been proven wrong by humanity in less than 2 hours. "Signal our surrender," he ordered quietly, knowing that this moment would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The reckoning was complete, and humanity had announced its arrival on the galactic stage in a way that no one would ever forget. As the 6-hour deadline got closer, Commander Zethkar became more and more confused by the lack of response from Earth. His communications officers had listened in on thousands of messages between the planet's different governments, but instead of surrender talks, the humans seemed to be organizing something completely different. "Commander, we're detecting massive power buildups across their continents," reported his sensor specialist. "It looks like they're sending energy to specific locations, but we cannot figure out what they're doing with it." Zethkar studied the Brida tactical displays with growing irritation. "Show me their military bases." The holographic projector displayed known human military installations, but the energy signatures were coming from entirely different places. Underground facilities that had not appeared on any of their previous scans were suddenly glowing with power signatures that matched Valdarian fusion cores. "How long have these installations existed?" Zethkar demanded. "Unknown, Commander. They appear to have been heavily protected until recently. The energy signatures only became visible when they began powering up their systems. On Earth, General Brooks received confirmation that all defensive networks had reached full operational status. Dr. Carter stood beside him in the command center, her team of scientists monitoring energy levels that would have been impossible to achieve just months earlier. "General, all railgun networks are online. reported Colonel Murphy. Fusion reactors are stable at 98% capacity. Quantum targeting systems have locked onto every ship in their fleet. Dr. Carter, are you certain our calculations are correct? Brooks asked. The physicist nodded confidently. The alien technology we've studied uses energy shields based on predictable frequency patterns. Our quantum computers have identified the exact vibrations needed to disrupt their defensive systems. They won't be expecting weapons that can change in real time to beat their countermeasures. At 30 minutes before the deadline, Earth finally responded to the Valdarian ultimatum. The message was short and delivered in perfect Valdarian language, a fact that immediately caught Commander Zethkar's attention. Commander Zethkar of the Valdarian Empire, this is General Kevin Brooks representing the United Earth Defense Force. Your demand for surrender is rejected. You have 30 minutes to remove your fleet from our solar system before we demonstrate why your assessment of humanity was incorrect. The bridge of the Dominator of Worlds fell completely silent. In his centuries of military service, Zethkar had never received such a response from a primitive species. The humans had not only learned his language, but had somehow discovered his personal name and rank. How did they get our language database? He asked his intelligence officer. Unknown, Commander. They would need access to our communication networks to achieve such translation accuracy. Zethkar's 4 arms moved in a gesture of dismissal. Impossible. They lack the technology to intercept our transmissions. But doubt crept into his thoughts as he considered what this might mean. Commander, his tactical officer interrupted, I'm detecting new energy signatures from Earth. Something is emerging from their underground installations. On the main display, massive structures began rising from hidden positions across Earth's continents. Railgun installations the size of skyscrapers emerged from concealed silos, their targeting systems already locked onto the Valdarian fleet. Orbital defense platforms that had been disguised as space debris suddenly activated, revealing weapon systems that glowed with barely contained energy. Impossible, Zethkar whispered, his confidence disappearing as he watched humanity reveal capabilities that should not exist. They're still using primitive technology. Our sensors detected no advanced weaponry. But the evidence was right in front of him. Across Earth's surface, defensive installations that rivaled anything in the Valdarian military were powering up and taking aim at his fleet. The humans had not been cowering in fear during his approach. They had been preparing for war. Dr. Carter smiled as she watched the alien fleet's formation waver. Their previously confident positioning now looked dangerously exposed. General, they're about to learn the difference between human technology and human creativity. All units, prepare to engage, Brooks commanded through the quantum communication network. Show them what 3 months of human determination can accomplish. Around the world, weapons systems that combined human engineering with alien technology principles came online. The railguns could accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. The quantum computers could predict enemy movements and adjust targeting faster than any alien system could compensate. Most importantly, the fusion reactors provided enough power to maintain sustained combat operations for weeks. Commander Zethkar stared at the displays showing human defensive capabilities that should not exist. Tactical analysis, he demanded. Commander, their installations appear to use principles similar to our own technology, but configured in ways we've never encountered. The power output suggests they have access to fusion technology comparable to our own. How is that possible? They were using chemical rockets just months ago. His science officer looked puzzled as he studied the sensor readings. Commander, it appears they have somehow integrated our own technological principles with their engineering approaches. The result is weapons systems that operate outside our standard defensive protocols. The countdown reached 20 minutes, then 10, then 5. Commander Zethkar found himself facing a decision he had never expected to make. The primitive species he had come to conquer easily was revealing military capabilities that challenged everything he thought he knew about technological development. Commander, incoming transmission from Earth. his communications officer reported. General Brooks' voice came through the speakers with calm authority. Commander Zethkar, you now have 5 minutes to begin your withdrawal. We have demonstrated our defensive capabilities. Do not force us to demonstrate our offensive capabilities. Zethkar looked around his bridge at officers who had served with him through dozens of successful campaigns. Their expressions reflected the same disbelief he felt. Somehow, in just 3 months, humanity had developed from a primitive species to a credible military threat. Sir, his tactical officer said quietly, their targeting systems are maintaining locks on all our vessels. Whatever technology they're using, it's tracking us through our stealth fields. Stealth fields that no primitive species should be able to detect, Zethkar muttered. The countdown reached 0, and Commander Zethkar realized that his dismissive assessment of humanity had been the most catastrophic intelligence failure in Valdarian military history. The humans had not been helpless. They had been preparing. All ships, defensive formations, he ordered, knowing it was probably too late. Dr. Carter looked at General Brooks as the final seconds ticked away. General, they're not withdrawing. Brooks nodded grimly. Then it's time to show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity. All units, commence fire. The awakening was about to begin, and Commander Zethkar was about to learn that the most dangerous enemy is the one you dismiss as harmless. 3 months later, Commander Zethkar's flagship, the Dominator of Worlds, entered Earth's solar system. Behind him followed 49 other alien warships. The humans had made no attempt to run away from their world or try to make a deal. This was exactly what he had expected from such a primitive people. General Kevin Brooks stood in the rebuilt NORAD Command Center, deep inside a mountain in Colorado. He watched the alien fleet getting closer on screens that had been secretly upgraded with new technology. President Martinez had given him complete control over Earth's response to the invasion. General, they're sending us a message on many different radio frequencies, reported communications specialist Amy Johnson. It's the same message over and over again, but in what looks like several different alien languages. Put it through. The translation computer that Dr. Carter's team built, Brooks ordered. The mechanical voice that came from the speakers sounded very arrogant and superior. Primitive people of the third planet, you will surrender right now to the Valdarian Empire. Your world has been chosen to become part of our territory. Fighting back is useless and will only get more of you killed. You have one of your days to signal that you give up. Colonel Ryan Murphy, Brooks's second-in-command, shook his head sadly. 24 hours to surrender our entire planet. These aliens sure don't waste time trying to be polite. They don't think we're worth the effort of being polite, Brooks replied. According to the intelligence we intercepted, they believe we'll collapse the moment we see their superior technology. On the bridge of his flagship, Commander Zethkar looked at the tactical displays with satisfaction. Earth's space around the planet was filled with primitive satellites and space stations, but nothing that looked like military threats. A few crude ships that appeared to be cargo carriers moved between the planet and its moon. Commander, his tactical officer reported, we're detecting some unusual energy readings from their industrial areas, but nothing that matches known weapons types. They appear to be redirecting power from civilian systems, probably shutting down unnecessary systems to power their communication networks, Zethkar concluded. They're likely arguing among themselves about surrender terms. These divided species always waste time with internal politics when faced with extinction. What the Valdarian sensors could not detect were the massive industrial complexes hidden deep underground. These were the result of 3 months of frantic preparation. Dr. Carter's breakthrough in faster-than-light communication had been followed by even more important discoveries. The alien technology pieces recovered from deep space had given human scientists insights that compressed decades of research into just weeks. In underground facilities across North America, Europe, and Asia, humanity's smartest people worked, alongside military engineers. They were creating weapon systems based on principles the aliens believed humans could not understand. Railguns that could shoot projectiles at incredible speeds. Quantum computers that could predict enemy movement patterns. Most importantly, breakthrough fusion reactors that could power defensive systems the aliens had never seen before. 22 hours until their deadline, reported Colonel Murphy. General Brooks smiled grimly as he watched the alien fleet maintain their arrogant formation. They clearly expected no resistance at all. Let them have their full 24 hours. I want them completely confident in their superiority when we show them what humanity can do. The Valdarian fleet spread out across Earth's orbital space like a net designed to show overwhelming force. Commander Zethkar prepared to send a final surrender demand. He expected the primitive humans to give up before he needed to demonstrate his weapons. Dr. Carter worked in her laboratory 3 miles underground, monitoring systems that represented the greatest technological leap in human history. General Brooks, all defensive networks report ready status. Fusion reactors are stable. Quantum targeting computers have identified every weak point in their ship designs. How can you be so confident about their weak points? Brooks asked through the communication link. We've been studying their technology for months through intercepted communications. Their shields operate on predictable frequency patterns. Our computers have identified the exact energy signatures needed to disrupt their defensive systems. They won't expect weapons that can adapt in real time to their countermeasures. Around the world, similar conversations were taking place in dozens of hidden command centers. Captain Steve Martinez, commanding what appeared to be a simple mining ship near Earth's asteroid belt, received final confirmation of his orders. His vessel, disguised as civilian equipment, actually carried some of the most advanced weapons humanity had ever created. "All units, this is command," came General Brooks's voice through the quantum communication network that the aliens could not detect or jam. "Maintain defensive positions and await final orders. Remember, they think we're helpless. Let's keep it that way until the last possible moment." Commander Zethkar reviewed his invasion timeline with satisfaction. In his experience, primitive species either surrendered immediately or made hopeless last stands that ended quickly. Either way, Earth would be under Valdarian control within days. His intelligence officer approached with a slight frown. "Commander, we're detecting coordinated power buildups across their continents, but we cannot determine their purpose." "Show me," Zethkar ordered. The holographic display revealed energy signatures emerging from locations that hadn't appeared on their previous scans. Underground installations were suddenly blazing with power levels that rivaled Valdarian fusion cores. "How long have these facilities existed?" Zethkar demanded. "Unknown, Commander. They appear to have been heavily shielded until now. The energy signatures only became visible when they began activating their systems." For the first time since arriving in the Earth system, Commander Zethkar felt a small doubt creep into his mind. Primitive species did not typically possess the ability to hide major installations from Valdarian sensors. They also did not usually wait until the last moment to reveal defensive capabilities. "Communications, send another surrender demand," he ordered. "Tell them they have 6 hours instead of 24. I want to end this quickly." But on Earth, humanity was not preparing to surrender. In command centers around the globe, military officers and scientists made final preparations for a demonstration that would shock the galaxy. They had spent 3 months turning the aliens' own technology against them, combined with human innovation that no galactic species had ever encountered. The aliens believed Earth was helpless because they had never faced an enemy that could learn, adapt, and innovate under pressure the way humans could. They were about to discover that underestimating humanity was the kind of mistake that could end military careers and change the balance of power in the galaxy. General Brooks looked at the countdown timer showing 6 hours until the alien deadline. "Dr. Carter, are all systems ready?" All systems are green, General. When you give the word, we'll show Commander Zethkar exactly how wrong his assessment of humanity was. The stage was set for first contact to go very, very wrong for the Valdarian Empire. Commander Zethkar stood tall in the great hall of the Galactic Council. His 4 strong arms moved as he talked, pointing at the blue planet floating in the light display. Earth looked small and weak among all the other worlds they were discussing today. Listen to me, Council members, Zethkar said in his deep voice. He had won wars on 17 different worlds, so everyone respected what he had to say. This little planet is no danger to us at all. My scouts went there and looked around. The humans living there can barely fly their ships to their own moon. Admiral Krixtal leaned forward in his chair. His people had fought alongside Zethkar's forces many times before. They trusted his reports about enemy strength. Tell us about how many of them there are, Commander. 8 billion creatures packed together on one small world, Zethkar answered, and his voice sounded amused. They fight each other all the time. They draw invisible lines on their planet and call them borders. They cannot agree on anything. They have no single government and no real way to defend themselves. Their machines and weapons are hundreds of years behind even the weakest worlds in our alliance. All around the big room, different alien species started talking in their own languages. Earth had only been found a few months ago by one of Zethkar's deep space ships. This was the first time anyone had given a full report about the people living there. Council Speaker Vorthak hit his staff on the floor to make everyone quiet. Commander Zethkar, what do you think we should do about this world from a military point of view? Take it over completely in one standard year, Zethkar said without even thinking about it. I think I will need no more than 50 ships and a small ground army. The humans have no energy shields to protect them. They have no plasma weapons to fight back with. They cannot travel faster than light. They still use old chemical rockets to fly around and simple bullets to fight. It will be easier than our practice battles. The huge alien straightened his battle armor, clearly proud of how smart he thought he was. I have led attacks against species much more advanced than these. Humans. The Krillian defense lasted 3 years because they had quantum barriers around their planets. The Nexus Rebellion took 5 years because they could shift between dimensions. Earth will fall in weeks, maybe even days. What the Galactic Council did not know was that humans had been listening to their conversations. Dr. Lisa Carter sat in a small hidden base on the far side of Earth's moon. Her face went pale as she read the translated alien words on her computer screen. For months, her team had been secretly watching alien communications. "Get me General Kevin Brooks right now," she whispered to the communications officer sitting next to her. "And connect me to President Martinez's emergency line. They need to know what is coming our way." The Galactic Council finished their meeting. They officially approved Zethkar's plan to invade Earth. None of them noticed the special energy signals that human quantum communicators were sending news of their plans all across the solar system. Commander Zethkar left the council chambers. In his mind, he was already writing orders for his fleet. To him, Earth was just another easy victory to add to his long list of conquered worlds. He believed the humans would give up quickly once they saw how much stronger Valdarian technology was compared to their primitive weapons. He had no idea that his dismissive opinion of humanity would soon become the biggest military mistake in the history of the galaxy. Back on the hidden moon base, Dr. Carter worked frantically with her team to decode more alien transmissions. They had learned that the aliens used a type of communication that traveled faster than light. By studying the signals, human scientists had figured out how to understand their language and even how to track their ships. "Doctor, we're picking up more signals," said her assistant, Jake Williams. "It looks like they're sending orders to gather ships for an attack fleet." Dr. Carter nodded grimly. "How long do we have? Based on their transmission patterns and what we know about their technology, maybe 3 months before they get here." 3 months to prepare for an invasion by aliens who thought humans were helpless primitives. Dr. Carter smiled slightly as she thought about all the things the aliens did not know about humanity. They had never seen what humans could do when their survival was at stake. Jake, send a priority message to all the hidden research facilities. Tell them Project Prometheus is now active. Tell them we have 3 months to show these aliens that they picked the wrong species to underestimate. Around the world, in secret underground laboratories that had been built after the first alien signals were detected, human scientists and engineers received the message. They had been preparing for this day, working with fragments of alien technology that had been recovered from deep space. The aliens thought humans were primitive and divided. They believed Earth would be an easy conquest. Commander Zethkar was so confident that he had requested only 50 ships for the invasion. He was about to learn that the biggest mistake a military commander can make is underestimating his enemy. Humanity had spent its entire history fighting for survival against impossible odds. They had learned to be creative, to adapt, and to never give up. The countdown to humanity's greatest test had begun. In 3 months, Commander Zethkar would arrive at Earth, expecting to find a helpless world ready to surrender. Instead, he would discover that humans had used every single day to prepare a welcome that would shock the entire galaxy.